Good morning. All right, so here I am, Dave, coming to you from the Hobo Dojo in Southern California. It's hot here. We'll get to that in a minute. Anyway, just wanted to say hello to you guys. I wanted to explain something. I've had a number of you write to us in the last couple of days, write to me personally on my email, asking what the hell happened to that one video. It's the video that had Portland in big letters and asked the question, are the BLM protesters handing the election to Donald Trump because of all the turmoil? And there's going to be a lot of people that are kind of reaching out for some law and order. Where did that video go? It now says blocked. So some of you shared it. So now on people's Facebook walls or wherever where you shared it, it just comes up as this video has been removed. This video has been blocked. So I wanted to explain that to you. And if those of you who saw it, now 80,000 people saw it, so it quite a few people did see it. It wasn't a huge video, but it was accepted pretty well. I thought it was a good video in terms of it explaining the point and the way it was put together and things like that. I was kind of proud of the way that we put that together. But therein lies the problem. At the opening, there was that film that I got from one of the Portland news stations. And the music that was with it, as so many of you people asked about, the music that was with it was by a Nashville musician named Tom Bukovac, who happens to be like my favorite guitar player. And I heard about him from you guys. I heard about him from you guys, and more than one of you said, you're going to love Tom Bukovac. You sensed somehow that I would love this particular guy. And maybe some of you guys that have heard my own music thought, boy, these guys are in the same wavelength in some way musically. And and I was feeling that way. I was feeling that we are on the same wavelength musically. And there's a trick that happens in your head with YouTube when you watch somebody's channel, especially a guy like Tom who just opens the camera up and just starts talking, and then he shows you these awesome things. He talks to everybody, you know, as if they're right in the room with him, and you get to feeling that you know the guy. And I apparently, without really noticing it about myself, I had that feeling that I knew him in some ways. So I couldn't find a contact on him. And a couple of days before we put that video out, he put this piece of music out that so fit, as you guys saw. It so fit the video that was taken with a gimbal walking around on the steps of the courthouse where a lot of the worst of the damage took place. And so I just put it out there and said, well, you know, I was just saying to myself, well, certainly, you know, he's already posted it. It's already on YouTube. And in my inkling of what those intros are that he does for the Tom Bukovac fans out there, he does a little thing where he makes a loop, right? And it's chords. It's some chord changes. And then he solos over top of it. And this one seemed to me like it was probably, it was an R&B type kind of funk track. Awesome, really good. And, you know, kind of minor key. And then he soloed in a pentatonic over top of it. So it wasn't as if it was one of those things that you work for 3 days on. This was my take on it as a musician. And I thought, well, this is kind of something that he threw out there. So if he contacts me, because I couldn't contact him, so I just took the liberty of just putting it in there. And that was a mistake. And I knew technically that it was beyond the pale, because I am a musician, but I'm a musician from Los Angeles where nobody makes any money. And he's a musician, a first call session player in the most important music city on earth. And he does this for a living. So, I mean, in the same way that when I have a session player play in my band, I never don't pay them. I never say, hey, can you come out and play the gig? And it'll just be for fun. We'll pass the tip jar. I don't do that. I save up my money and pay musicians who do it for a living, because I've never done it for a living. At best, I've been semi-professional. So he, in fact, did contact me within like a couple hours, because I had a sense that he would, because I knew that we had a lot of different people. I had a feeling that a lot of the people would go over there and go, hey, man, you know, I saw your music on Blue Collar Logic. And he would have gone over there and checked it out and go, hey, what's this? And apparently he didn't know about me and had no sense of kinship with me in the same way that I had this sort of one-sided kinship with him. So, and so, I mean, he wrote to me and busted my balls a little bit, but nothing. He wasn't yelling at me or anything. He was just saying, send me this amount of money. And so I sent him an amount of money that I thought was fair. I figured he was highballing me, and he was to a degree. And then we went back and forth a little bit. And again, I was feeling, hey man, I'm talking with Tom Bukovac, and in some way we're bros because we both have YouTube channels, and you know, I was making that up in my head, kind of. Well, I wasn't even thinking about that. It was just the vibe that I was feeling. Like I was feeling the vibe that this is nothing particularly serious, and he wasn't putting any frowny face emojis or any emojis with like steam coming out of his ears or anything like that. So I wasn't reading it right. And I wrote back to him in such a way that I think must have read, and I went back and read that email. It must have read to him like I wasn't taking him seriously. And so, and then I got really busy. I got called away. I had to go do something by way of a personal issue that I was dealing with, which I won't go into. But I didn't check my emails, and I don't check my emails on a regular basis. I check my emails every third day, something like that. It's just, you know, I'm on social media, and I get used to messaging through phones and things like that. So I all of a sudden just wake up one morning and the video's been blocked. And I had sent him some money, and it wasn't nothing. It wasn't a huge amount of money, but it was 2/3 of what he asked for. And it was about what I figured I would make on the video. And it would have been just, I was very accurate, because you can tell kind of but the arc they're taking when they start out. You could tell, this one's not going to go 100,000, or this one's got a rocket under it. This might be a big one. I made, you know, the channel might make $1,000 on this video, but that wasn't one of those videos. I knew that video was one that would make the channel about $400, which it did before all that money got killed. Because so I thought, you know, so that hit me, and I realized, man, we got a copyright strike. Now, there's a thing called a copyright claim, and that's where a person whose, you know, music you've used or picture you've used, they put in a copyright claim, and all the money just goes to them. And I figured that the worst that could happen, that would happen, because we've never had a copyright strike. But apparently my email back to Tom and my flippant attitude, which I will cop to. I was feeling like we were engaged in sort of a kidding around kind of thing, and but that was only on one side. Anyway, he got pissed off, and he put in a copyright strike on us. And if you get 3 copyright strikes within a 3-month period, your channel dies forever. They take away. So that's, you know, and I got really, I felt really bad, not so much for Tom, because he'd been paid. I felt really bad for Jason, because I'd put him in jeopardy. And this is part of his income that he depends on. And I depend on it. I was thinking, well, I don't want to kill the channel. You know, Jason didn't do anything wrong. It was all entirely on me. So, long story short, well, it's too late to make the long story short. But anyway, the video is down and apparently gone forever. And I sent Tom an equal amount of money again, as much as I had sent him in the first place. So he's been paid more than he originally asked for. Again, not a mountain more than he originally asked for, but more than he asked for. So, and I apologized without reservation. I took responsibility, which I should have done in the first place. I don't know. I really don't know what was wrong with me. Might have something to do with the diet I'm on, but, or just my lack of perspective being locked up here for 5 months. Anyway, that's what happened. I highly recommend Tom Bukovac's channel. And if you go over there and you subscribe, say Dave sent me, and maybe eventually I'll get back in his good graces, because I'm sure he's a terrific guy. I've seen no indications that he's other than a great guy who stands his ground. And I like great guys who stand their ground. And so my bad. That's what happened to the video. So and I would repost it because I asked him if he would remove the strike, and he was gracious and did remove the strike. So, but YouTube hasn't removed the strike. So Tom asked them to remove the strike. So I can't repost that video if they're still reading it as one that has a strike against it, because then they'll put another strike against it. And then we'll have 2 strikes, and then we'll only have 1 strike left to go to be canceled forever. So that video is going to have to just remain off until I hear anything from YouTube that, okay, it's fine, you can go ahead and post that. And Tom was very gracious. He says, yeah, now that you've apologized and paid me the amount of money I needed, use the music. So he was, so I'm saying nothing negative about Tom Bukovac. One thing he mentioned to me is, he goes, you got to remember, I'm from Cleveland. You don't mess with a Cleveland dude. I've been to Cleveland, I understand. So anyway, that's that. Then we're having like this massive heat wave out here. So it's a little bit difficult. All I have is this little air conditioner here. If I was to turn this on and try to do videos sitting right here, you can probably hear why I can't do that. Because it makes a little bit of noise. It's only, I mean, that's the air conditioner. That's the only air conditioner I have in this place. So let's turn that off. But it'll be up over 100 degrees here today. And where Jason lives, it's even hotter. So if I go over there to use the studio and do a thing with him, we'll have to do it as early in the morning as we possibly can, because it gets hot, and it's going to be like up 107, 108 this week over there. So we're working this out. I do have a piece that I've written, and I'll just tease it a little bit, that it looks at Kamala Harris in terms of, we all know that she had a relationship with Willie Brown, but it really gets into the history of Willie Brown a little bit, and the understanding that what Willie Brown was to California for a very long time is what Nancy Pelosi is, another San Francisco person, is what she is to the nation. These are shot callers. These are people who change the whole political spectrum. They make the deals. They lean on people. They collect dirt on people if they have to. It's like you're watching Kevin Spacey in that, what was that thing that he was on TV, that were their politicians. I can't remember the name of that thing, but those were Democrats in that show. I mean, that was a bunch of Democrats in Hollywood showing the dirt in politics, and they chose Democratic politicians to show it. So it ain't no joke, man. So I won't give away the whole video, but it looks at the reality of really bringing a California politics attitude to the White House if Kamala Harris is elected, because we won't go into this right now. I play it all out in a logical way. All right, so this diet thing I'm on, which I'm partially blaming for my inability to play the Tom Bukovac music theft caper properly. I may have been hitting ketosis that day. I'm on a diet where I'm sort of carb starving. And when I started this it was about a week before I went up to Oregon and to Portland. It was about a week before I started that. I started doing just salads at night with a little chopped meat on top, a little protein of some sort on it, but not very much. And just a bunch of vegetables, bunch of chopped vegetables to try to give me some bulk so it feels like I'm eating something, then a bunch of lettuce. So I've been doing that every night for like about the last 20 to 22 or 3 days. And then only in the mornings, not eating at all, and having a sort of breakfast lunch combination consisting of 2 very grainy, small little pieces of toast that are also thin. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Dave's Killer Bread. If you look at their small loaf, they're not only smaller in size, instead of one of those wide ones that you have trouble fitting into a toaster. Instead of that, they're very, very small, but they're also thin. So in 2 ways, they're smaller than the bread that I'm used to, which is fat bread that's wide. And so I've cut my carbs for breakfast in about half. And then I put a little peanut butter on that. And that's all I eat. Then if I get super hungry somewhere between the time, like that might be 1 in the afternoon, between that time and the time that I eat at night before I go to bed, which might be as late as 10:30 or so, I might eat a hard-boiled egg in the middle of the day or a small handful of almonds. Other than that, nothing. So I'm basically fasting for, twice a day. I'm fasting through the night and through the morning. And then I fast, I eat a small amount, not enough really to kill the hunger entirely. And then I go till late at night. And I've lost 10 pounds, according to the scale this morning. I've lost about 10 pounds. I'm down from about 175 to about 165. Now, some of you will say, dude, you're skinny enough. And you don't really know the whole picture because where I hold fat is between here and my belt. So that's where the fat goes. It goes really just there. And a little bit on the backs of my arms. I got a little bit of fat back here on the backs of my arms. All of the places that you don't want fat, if you ever plan to take your shirt off in front of anybody, it's because really I'm not structured in the way that, I get one of those teddy bear dad bods that the ladies like. Some of you guys got broad shoulders and therefore when you put weight on evenly all over, and an extra 20 pounds or 30 pounds, chicks dig that. I hear that all the time. Oh, we dig a dad bod. So I know it's true that a lot of you teddy bears out there, if you've got the big bone structure, you can get away with that. But I'm just not built that way. I'm oddly constructed from the factory. Hang on a sec. The only way I could really like my body, to take off my shirt and look in a mirror, the only way I can ever like it is to be super thin and like 155. So we'll see. I'm an old dude, and I'm probably not in the game with the ladies nearly as much as I think I am. But you'd like to, if you're going out with someone, you'd like for them to enjoy looking at you as much as you enjoy looking at them. So I'm trying to get to a place where I can balance it out with my diet and all the exercise I do, and I walk 2.5 to 3 miles every day. So but I'm more sedentary now that I'm a writer instead of a house painter. So there's that's going on. So that's the diet. If anybody, any of you knows a lot about I'm not really trying to be keto, full keto. I'm really just trying to carbo starve. But if anybody has had a lot of experience with the kind of the mental trip that you go through when first you get into something like ketosis, like last night I was wandering around, all day long I was writing, and I was actually writing pretty well. I was doing a lot of research and I was writing pretty well, but I didn't have any sense of like deep connection to what I was doing at the time. It was almost like I was sort of watching myself from once removed place going, that's interesting, but I wasn't fully engaged. And I feel like maybe it's that some of that my brain, because I'm putting so few calories into myself, was sort of budgeting my brain activity to, it's fine to do the things that seem to be necessary, but not enough extra brain activity was being funded sort of with nutrients in order to also give me a lot of self-reflective stuff to add to it. Like, okay, there's that. Oh, that sentence was interesting. All that sort of like inner talk. And as I was doing my walk last night, it was almost like I was not really there. I felt like, oh, this must be what zombies feel like. But I did the walk, and I wasn't that short on energy. So it's obviously my body is finding some way to burn this fat finally after about 3 weeks of attempting to get over into this ketosis or whatever it is. So that's the diet. The COVID thing is pretty weird. I mean, how perfect is it that after all of this time, after all of the time that I've been saying this is going to go through to November, all you guys have been saying that, as we are now 2 days ago, it was 14th, we passed the 5-month mark. 5 months. Remember, it was 15 days to flatten the curve, and that began on Friday the 13th. The Friday the 13th of March. So that's March, to April, to May, to June, to July, to August. 5 months. So what's the very first thing that as a team, that as a team, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris said to the nation? We want a national mandate that everybody wears masks for 3 more months. Okay, what does that mean? What? Oh, okay. So now we're at at that moment we were at the 14th. So that's one day past the 5-month mark. We were at the 14th of August. So that would be August to September to October to November. Interesting. So that's 10 days past the election. Well, that's a nice little buffer period, right? Oh, that's just coincidental. So it looks to me like they're just kind of admitting that this is about the election. How do they come up with the 3-month mark? If they want everybody to super mask, how does that turn into 3 months when the original Fauci recommendations were a few weeks? So, but now it's 3 months, and they are trying very hard to make everybody believe that we are in the middle of some incredible spike, as opposed to an incredible spike in cases that has to do with the doubling and tripling of tests in all the major states. I mean, California, they're testing between like 80 and 90,000 people a day. I mean, you're going to find all of the cases that are out there that are sort of asymptomatic, or people that, mild cough or something like that. You're getting all that stuff. So they are trying very desperately to continue smashing the economy for 3 more months, which will bring it to a total of 8 months of shutting down the economy. And this is their first act together as a team, the first time that they appeared together as a team to speak to the nation was to go all in on the COVID shutdown. Just saying. Travel plans. I'm looking at my little stuff here. My travel plans are, as you know, to go traveling full time soon. That's why I'm looking for that motorhome. And thank you so much to those of you who have sent me links to things. And I have looked at some of them. I have, checked some of them out. A lot of them. I only want the 26.5 foot Lazy Days, and I only want the mid-bath model. It's the one with big windows in the back. There's a sitting room / bedroom in the back. That's the one I want, because then I can do my videos from there, and there'll be these awesome backgrounds in the back. I can park it on the edge of a cliff, and there'll be an ocean in the back, a great sunset or something like that. And also, it has 2 opposing couches. And so if I'm doing a podcast type thing, I can set up a mic like this on my side and a mic like that on the other people's side, and have a little mixer in the middle. And I can podcast, and the 2 cameras, I'll have a camera on them and a camera on me. And there will be one view out that side and one view out this side. And I just think it'll be visually interesting. It'll be nice for the people that allow me to drive to them and podcast to them, because that's part of the plan. To say that, well, there's a really interesting person, but I don't have a studio like Joe Rogan where I can fly him out, something like that. I'll just, go to them if I'm out traveling. So, I don't know if I can pull this off. I don't know if I have any real talent for podcasting, but it's something that I'd like to do on my other channel, because the podcasts on this channel have not been well received. I do thank you for watching them, though, because I'm trying to learn the craft. So those are the travel plans, but I also wanted to say that it looks like the first place I'm going to go, whether it's with the Lazy Days or not, if I score a Lazy Days, it will be the big maiden voyage. And if I can't score a Lazy Days, I'm going to go anyway. I'm just going to go in the van, and I'm going to drive all the way across country to Georgia. And in the hills of Georgia, a guy named Jamie Dimon, who's a friend of mine and is the guy that does the van build. And you've seen me cut videos from the van build several times where I'm out in the Arizona desert and I make a little video. And that when the COVID thing started slamming everybody in Arizona was getting rousted. So Jamie lives full time in his rig. He has a school bus, a converted school bus that he lives in, and he lives full time in his rig. So the people that do that, the boondockers, they depend on the government land, which is BLM of a different sort, Bureau of Land Management. And there's BLM land all over the West where you can park for 2 weeks at a time. And if somebody comes along and says, hey, you got to move on, you got to move like 20 miles away, and then you can park there for 2 weeks. And that's all over the West, right? Lots and lots of Bureau of Land Management land. But Jamie had an invitation. I don't want to put words in his mouth. This is the way I understand it. Jamie had an invitation from a guy named Steve to come out to his property in rural Georgia. And so Jamie did and said, well, you know, I like it out here. There's nobody busting my balls. There's nobody coming in and making me move or say, you know, there's any gatherings start, you know, cops start showing up and the cops don't know what the rules are and they're trying to do their best. And the Bureau of Land Management people, they don't know what the rules are. The rules change every day and everybody. So on the safe side, people are getting asked to move along or, you know, oh, you're camping too close. We might have to shut this piece of property down, that kind of thing was going on. And another guy that I know called Adventure Van Man, a guy named Brian, I don't know him personally as much. I've met him a couple times, but he's had the same problem in California and Arizona as not knowing exactly where it's okay to park. So Jamie went back there and now he's come up with the bright idea that, hey, Steve's got this other property. They're going to clear some area and do the van build on the East Coast. So the people who've been driving all the way to the van build from the East Coast don't have to drive so far. It'd be a little gift to them that they'd be much, much closer. It'd be a change of pace, but a long drive for me, a long drive for anybody from that lives on the West Coast. But I'm sufficiently committed to being part of that van build community. I just think it's an amazing thing that Jamie does to sort of bring just goodness. Right now, he's building a bus for no money for a disabled woman who lives full-time in some kind of lesser vehicle. And they're putting a bus together for her. And he's done this for other people multiple times. And people who have a vehicle, the van build is about, you get people with skills together with people with needs. And it's a community. Man, this is the stuff we do if we don't want big government to do everything for us. So I respond to it, the libertarian in me, where that crosses over with the sort of philanthropic sense that I have. Those things make good sense to me to do these events. And so I want to be part of that. So I'll be going out to Georgia, which will give me an opportunity to visit a lot of you guys along the way. I'll try to leave, you know, a few weeks early if I can figure that out. Or you know, when I'm coming back, it might be more logical that I'll have more time to sort of dilly-dally and visit some of you guys. But a lot of you guys when I do travel, say, drop on by and we'll have a, you know, burger and a beer or whatever. So we'll do that stuff. Then I'll be out on the road for a longer period of time and I'll be crossing through the heartland, you know, so and with no particular arrow, I can go in any direction I want. So either I'll be in the lazy days or in my van. I wanted to talk to you about the back catalog on this channel, where I noticed that we're starting to get you know, we have so many videos up now. I don't know how many we have, but something in the neighborhood of 200 videos. Maybe that's an exaggeration. I haven't actually sat there and counted them. And as far as I know, YouTube doesn't, you know, count your videos, click this button. I don't think there's one of those. So you got to go through and just tediously count them all. But videos do pop up from the past. And sometimes it's really great for us. I mean, the white privilege thing popped up and I think it had 400,000 views. And now it's over 1 million or almost at 1 million. It's not at 1 million yet, but it's almost maybe it is. Yeah, I think it is over 1 million. Anyway, it's right around there. But that really gave us a decent chunk of income last month. And that was really welcomed, especially because, you know, it's really, really difficult. At that time, it was really difficult to find anything to talk about because it's basically just, you know, I mean, everybody's so burned out on all these sort of political infighting, and we didn't have a VP candidate yet, and it was, you know, Joe's down in a basement. He's not saying anything. You can't really comment on much, and it's COVID, and it's BLM, and it's protest. I mean, it was just like the world was just on loop for a month and a half, 2 months. So it was getting really hard to say anything that was of any interest to anybody. I'm sure that we weren't the only commentators having that struggle, but because some of you guys went back and were digging around and looking at some of the old videos or clicking on stuff that shows up, that shows our face, and you go, well, it's not brand new, but let's have a look anyway. It gives an opportunity for those then to they move up a little bit in the algorithms, and they might find a little bit of a new life. And so if you do see something like that, and it's a video that you haven't watched before, it might not be the most current thing, but if you have any sense of myself and Jason, we do talk about general concepts. Now, it might be, focused on something that's happening that week in time, but hopefully there's a little bit of reason to watch something even months after it first came out, or even a year after it first came out. So anyway, that's all I got to say. I've talked way too long, so I'll post this up, and hopefully we'll see you guys soon with a proper, well-produced video.